Welcome back, everyone. I'm excited to be here today for the first Microsoft Dynamics 365/CRM user group webinar of fall 2019, and I hope you all are too. And I'm also very excited to introduce today's topic, SharePoint and OneNote Integrations. Before I let Mike Dodds walk you through it, however, I have a few quick housekeeping notes, so bear with me here. I'm Julia Flaherty, Digital Marketing Specialist at Ledgeview Partners. For those of you that have not been on our webinars before and don't know us, we're a business and technology consulting firm who partners with organizations to transform sales, marketing, and customer service operations and processes that are supported by core technologies like CRM and marketing automation. Through different processes and solutions, our experts at Ledgeview help you to achieve your unique goals in sales, marketing, customer service, and CRM. We estimate that today's webinar will take up about 40 minutes of your time. It is being recorded like usual and will be available on demand after the live session. All attendees will receive a follow-up email after the webinar is complete with a link to access the presentation. So if you haven't already, go ahead and add @ledgeviewpartners.com to your safe senders list to ensure you get the email. Or if you find any email from us in your spam folders, go ahead and mark that as not spam. We encourage you to share this within your company and your professional networks. To ensure the best audio quality, everyone is on listen-only mode, but if you do have a question or comment, go ahead and submit those in the question pane of your GoToWebinar control panel, and we will follow up with you afterwards, as we do have a full agenda today. We will, of course, be covering your user group questions that you submitted during registration at the end of today's webinar, so be sure to stick around for that. On the agenda today, Mike Dodds will be walking you through the Spotlight topic, demoing it, answering all of your questions, and then I'll wrap things up by sharing some user group resources you can take advantage of later on and some awesome information about User Group Summit 2019. For those that don't know Mike Dodds, he is a Microsoft Dynamics 365 certified support consultant at Ledgeview Partners. Our customers really love his ability to save them time as he lends his passion, energy, and analyzation skills to solve their unique challenges. And maybe if we're lucky, he'll even give us the first fall 2019 weather report today. Now it's time to hand things over to him and get the show moving. Hi, Mike.
Hi, Julia. Thank you for that wonderful introduction and for your weather report that you requested. It is still warm. It doesn't feel like fall yet, and I personally am quite thankful for that. So hopefully the nice warm weather can stick around for a little while longer, and we can get into this great topic that we have here. So let's jump on into SharePoint integration and OneNote integration. So naturally with integrations, we always have a question of why should we utilize them? What's the point of integrating into a system that's meant to be a one-stop shop like Dynamics 365? Excellent question. And that's exactly why we want to do this integration, is because Dynamics 365 is meant to be a one-stop shop. Dynamics 365 itself was built to be it's a sales, marketing, customer service. It's ever expanding into all of these different items as well, with sales, field service, talent, project service, automation, all of these different tools that we're adding onto it. But one thing that it was never truly built to do was to be a data warehouse or data storage facility. That, however, is something that SharePoint was built to do. And because of that, a lot of people use SharePoint as their document storage facility. So you then have these two systems, and we go, I want to get all my information in one spot. So you inevitably take that information in SharePoint and put it onto Dynamics. Anybody that's been online and has ever called our support team knows this question, and has asked this question and heard our answer. Why am I reaching my storage limit? And the biggest reason we always come back with is because of attachments. Attachments eat up your storage faster than anything you could possibly imagine. And it's simply because Dynamics 365 was not built to house those. So, what's our solution? What do we do? SharePoint integration. You take the best of both worlds. SharePoint and its document housing capabilities. Dynamics 365, it's one-stop shop. Its ability to use sales, marketing tools, its robust capabilities, and everything we've ever talked about in these user group webinars. And we combine them. And you have the ability to upload documents, create new documents that are stored on SharePoint, all right from the entities that we know and love and use on a day-to-day basis within Dynamics 365, like accounts, contacts, leads. You simply go right in there and upload your documents, and you can access them right from Dynamics 365 as well. It becomes truly that one-stop shop. OneNote integration. If you've ever been on a call with me, I have lovingly called OneNote, because I use it all the time, Word on steroids. And it's garnered some chuckles out of that, but it's honestly a true statement, except for it really being on steroids. But it has so much beefed up capabilities of what it can do that it's really taken the business world by storm, and people are just using it in such a large capacity nowadays that we really want to be able to house that information of OneNote inside of Dynamics 365, again, going back to that one-stop shop, having everything housed or accessible within Dynamics 365. So we're all using OneNote. We end up having users ask the simple questions and logical questions of, I have OneNote notebooks for my accounts or opportunities or these various items that I'm selling to my leads, etc. Can I access those or house those in Dynamics 365? Or can I create a OneNote notebook for my customers in Dynamics? Simple answer is yes, you definitely can. OneNote notebooks, they can be uploaded to SharePoint. You can create new ones for SharePoint. But we can take it one step further. OneNote integration automatically creates a new OneNote notebook for each record. So the first time you access that record, it automatically creates a OneNote notebook for it. So we have a company called Widgets R Us. First time I go into Widgets R Us, never opened this account before. First time I access it, a brand new OneNote notebook is created for me. That way, as the owner of this account, I can take my notes, enter them in there. Anytime I need to go back in and access that, I just simply open up OneNote, add my notes to it. Okay. You can take that out of the Office 365 version down into OneNote Desktop, have the full force capabilities of OneNote. And it's still connected to Dynamics 365. It's a very, very powerful tool. So we have all these great tools. They do amazing things. We understand why we should do it. Okay, so what are the prerequisites to do it? What are the gotchas? Okay. SharePoint integration prerequisites. Before you set this up, ensure that you have proper security settings that are added to your security rules. Okay. Easiest creation point is always going to be online to online. Okay. If you have SharePoint Online and you have SharePoint, if you have Dynamics 365 Online, SharePoint Online, very easy to set up. Very simple. If you have the hybrid, which means one of each, you're going to need some assistance to do. Okay. But I'm going to walk through some prerequisites of how to set them up. Just noticing from people setting them up and assisting people through the years with this and through our support team, those tend to be the hardest ones to set up are the hybrid, where one's online and one's on premise. If both are online or both are on premise, they tend to be a little bit easier to set up. So I just wanted to let everyone know that. So for SharePoint integration prerequisites. You want to make sure that the SharePoint site has read and append to, that's the entity. The SharePoint document location, you want to make sure that the user has create, read, write, append, and append to access. That way they'll be able to perform their necessary functions. Okay. You also want to make sure that you enable server-based SharePoint integration. Very, very important. This will allow full functionality of the SharePoint integration features. Okay, and then it's going to ask you to choose whether you're online or on-premise. If you're online SharePoint, so those online SharePoint sites, they have to be in the same tenant. What I mean when I say the same tenant, that means you have Office 365, they're under that same Office 365. You can't go to a different Office 365 login and use SharePoint sites from those two different Office 365 logins. That will not work. And then you'll set your SharePoint URL, meaning where those SharePoint sites are. Then set up your document management. This is where you're going to be selecting the entities that you want enabled for document management, so SharePoint integration. And then you're going to verify the SharePoint site, so the URL that you set up, and then set your folder structure. Generally, you're going to base this off of account, so based on entity, and then off of account. You can also do it off of contact as well. It's dependent on your business structure. If contacts are more important than accounts, you can do it off of contacts. 90% of the time, it's going to be done off of accounts. Some on-premise SharePoint sites prerequisites. You need to utilize one of the following SharePoint versions. 2016 on-premise. If you're using 2013 SharePoint, it needs Service Pack 1 or later, and it needs to have the following updates. Basically, in those KBs. If you search those KBs, then you'll know that you have those updates installed. Okay. There are prerequisites on top of those specific updates, so it gets to be a rabbit hole if you don't have those. So you need to install the prerequisites to those first. So just keep in mind. So some SharePoint configuration prerequisites to consider is that SharePoint must be configured for a single farm deployment only. Very important. If you're using default claims authentication mapping, the Active Directory domain for SharePoint and Dynamics 365 server, they got to be on the same. They must be the same, or SharePoint has to trust the 365 domain. The SharePoint website has to be configured for TLS and SSL, and the certificates need to be issued by a public root. To allow users to create SharePoint document libraries, you want to make sure that these permissions are configured, that the Dynamics 365 user Active Directory account is a member of the site member group of the SharePoint site collection where the documents are stored. And also the user's Dynamics 365 email address and the user's SharePoint on-premise work email address must match. On-premise gets into a whole lot of various technical items that are important from a prerequisite standpoint, but they are very important prerequisite items if you're dealing with an on-premise. So I want to make sure that I cover on those. OneNote integration prerequisites. Server-based SharePoint integration must be turned on, which you've also then turned on your document management at that point. And then you need to turn on the OneNote integration through document management for your desired entities. So there's a document management section. You go into the OneNote integration, and you set your desired entities right there. Now you have OneNote integration set up. All right. So without further ado, let's jump on in and see how this works. All right, so I'm in an account right here called City Power and Lights. Click on our little drop-down menu to related entities. Anytime you see documents here, that means you have SharePoint integration. You've started the setup. Does not necessarily mean that you have the SharePoint site set up and everything configured properly, but you've turned on document management. If you come here, you can see new. I can create a new Word document, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, or even a new folder. Or I can simply upload an existing document. So if I go new Word document, I can choose this and call it webinar document. Save. And the ones that you're creating as new, important thing to keep in mind with the new ones where it's a Excel, Word, PowerPoint, even OneNote, when looking at those are more collaborative type of documents. Ones that you're uploading, like if you're uploading a PDF or images or different items like that, it's usually where you're going from an upload standpoint. You can, of course, upload documents and Excel files and different things like that. The reason I'm making the that distinguishing factor is when I start to type this in and I save it, if I come back to this later, that information's already in there, can come back in and make updates to it. It's a living document and can keep making updates to it. Where like a PDF or an image, it's a reference document. Okay. You can also click up here and go open in desktop app. So if I type in here, testing SharePoint save. So saving right here. And so save, so I simply close that out. There it is, right there. And if I want to click on this, and I click edit, there it is. Testing SharePoint save. It's right there. I go open in desktop app. It's going to open here in just a second. And what it'll do is it's going to have you verify and have you log in to your org because you're going outside of your browser, so it's going to have you log in to basically verify the saying, hey, are you who you say you are? Just an extra level of security. Which is what I am doing right now. And then while that opens, kind of leave that there. I'm going to jump back into account City Power and Lights. And if I uncheck this, I can do open location. So if I want to see where this location is, which is under location 1, I click location 1 and goes into my SharePoint right here. There it is. Now I'm in SharePoint. So I've exited out of Dynamics 365 and into SharePoint. And in terms of folder structure, here I am, account, City Power and Lights. If I go back into accounts, there's my various accounts. So if I wanted to jump into a Datum Corporation, there they are. Which is the same thing that I could do if I went to accounts and I went to a Datum Corporation. and I would find the exact same records under the document section. So if I click on the little drop down, go to documents, I would find those exact same documents right here. There's my opportunity folder. If I open my opportunity folder, it has another folder underneath. And all I simply did there was by creating folders within the account section, and then I created another folder under opportunity and kept going. Because you can create folders. So it's a very, very handy tool. And I always have access to this. I'm not leaving Dynamics 365. I'm still in Dynamics 365. I'm just able to access the power of SharePoint. Now, if I want to go to, let's say Widgets Are Us, and I wanted to, I have a meeting with Widgets Are Us and our Widgets Are Us corporate, and I want to go to my OneNote. Just gonna think here for a minute. So I'm gonna click here on the OneNote, and now it's loading my loading the notebook, which means it's creating a new OneNote notebook. And as you can tell, we're doing a webinar, so naturally this is going to happen. And as you can see, it corrected itself. So this is the way it's going to function. Widgets Are Us corporate. This is my title page right here. So I can do testing functionality. It's saving. And out inside of the Office 365, you have a little bit more limited functionality within OneNote. So if you wanted to pop this open into the into OneNote itself, or if I want to go into OneNote 2016, I go here. I can do that, and it's just going to do the exact same thing that it did for when I was opening the other one in the app. It's going to have you do your login and verify what you're accessing. So really excellent items that you can do within the OneNote integration piece. It's an excellent feature, and everyone knows the wonderful capabilities of OneNote. This is just showing the ability to integrate it with inside of Dynamics 365 and the out-of-the-box OneNote integration. So this automatically creates, I don't need to do anything. It just automatically created it for me. So then if I pop back here, which is Are Us, and then this opened up here. So if I go back to Widgets Are Us corporate here, I'm right where I need to be. And then you can see that Widgets Are Us corporate is right in this location. So anytime I need to come back here, it won't recreate another one for me. It's going to see that, oh, Widgets Are Us corporate's already in here. Just click on the OneNote section, click here, and it'll pop back open. So if I close this, click on Widgets Are Us corporate, it's going to open it back up for me. And there it is. Save the name for me. That's all I have to do. All right. So some new information that's all for our main topic of OneNote and SharePoint integration for today. Some new information that has been released by Microsoft. As many of you are aware, Dynamics 365 got a facelift with the version 9.0. This was back almost a year to a year and a half ago. It was called the Unified User Interface. Now just really called the User Interface. And however, not everyone has experienced it, the new and improved look, and that's simply because that requires, a whole change in how your users are interacting with Dynamics 365. So that's, not everyone has moved to it. Anyone that's created a new Dynamics 365 org, however, is going into the new user interface. Microsoft has announced that in October of 2020, the classic interface, which is the one that you saw today, will be deprecated, which means it will be going away. And they will be proceeding forward with only one interface, the new interface. And that's the one that you see on the Outlook app and on your mobile app. I highly recommend contacting your account executive at Ledgeview Partners for more details on how this will impact your users and how we can help. Because nothing's more impactful on your users than how they interact with the system. And we can show you how this is going to benefit you in the long run. Now we're going to jump into the user-submitted questions. Our first question is, can you speak to inputting to Dynamics 365 through the cell phone app? I highly recommend reviewing the March 2019 user group webinar on mobile for Dynamics 365. We really dive into the mobile capabilities and a demo on how to input different items and really how to utilize the mobile feature. If you have any specific questions on the mobile application, I would be happy to answer those in the next webinar. But in terms of general overall use and inputting, I highly recommend reviewing that webinar. What type of security setup is needed for SharePoint that does not get handled by existing user security roles in CRM? So outside of the ones that I covered that you want to make sure to set up when you do the SharePoint integration and is not handled with dynamic security roles, because there's other things that you can do with SharePoint integration in terms of setting up sites and deleting sites and things like that, which as an admin you're going to want to have access to, but not necessarily give to a user. In terms of getting to those document sites, in terms of the entities inside of Dynamics 365, those are handled with Dynamics 365 security roles. The actual document itself, that's handled by SharePoint. So that is a SharePoint security. Okay. This security setup, that's more of kind of on a case-by-case basis, meaning if you want to, lock down access to specific records or documents side of SharePoint, but that's completely and totally a SharePoint security base. A majority of our user base wants to be able to print out activity information as they prepare for meetings. I can do the templates, but I can't seem to limit the data that shows up, so it becomes unmanageable. There's a couple different items that I want to address with this question. One of my first recommendations would be I would move away from printing out the activities. The reason being is to really print out your activities, you would need to utilize Advanced Find to filter it down and then export that list out and then print it. The reason being, as any customer relationship management system, especially Dynamics 365, they tend to make it more difficult to print things. It's just the nature of the beast, unfortunately. With this particular scenario, I would honestly recommend pursuing the Dynamics 365 mobile app. And this is where you can review the activities. You can review ones that are specific to the accounts, the opportunity to the lead, whatever record it's specific to that you're going to visit. So if you're going to just a generic account or going regarding a specific opportunity, you can pull up that opportunity and look at the activities associated to it. Within the mobile application, it's in a section called Timeline, and it's going to list the notes and activities in chronological order, most recent to oldest, and you can just read through them and see what's been happening regarding that opportunity or account. That's going to be the most efficient and useful tool for your users and for yourself. That would be my recommendation.
All right. Thank you for sharing your insight and providing that great demonstration, Mike. It's always nice to see the technology come to life on screen and how we can use it in our day-to-day. If you like today's session, join us for our next user group webinar on October 23rd, where we'll recap this year's user group summit and unpack what's new in the Microsoft Dynamics 365 Wave 2 2019 release. That registration link is already live for you at ledgeviewpartners.com. So even if you're not sure you'll be able to make it today, I'd still encourage you to register so you can at least get that link on demand after the session is complete. We at Ledgeview have a lot of excellent resources to offer you, whether you're interested in learning more about topics like Microsoft Dynamics or maybe marketing or customer service or sales. We've really put together a library of resources everyone can benefit from in some way. We have more than 30 ebooks in our current library, plus many infographics and blogs for you to choose from, and our blog is updated daily. We also invite you to check out our past user group webinars at ledgeviewpartners.com. There you'll be able to access what you may have missed. We invite you to join our Dynamics user group on Facebook. Just go to facebook.com/LedgeviewPartners and then click on groups in the left-hand corner below our profile icon. And then you can request to join by answering 2 very simple questions. Finally, if you'll be at User Group Summit this year, stop by our booth number 1521. We are excited to network with you there. We also have 3 sessions we're hosting, one in coordination with Acton Software. Find out the details about those and learn more about User Group Summit and the benefits of attending at ledgeviewpartners.com/usergroupsummit. And don't forget to save on your tickets with our registration code. All right, thanks for sticking around, everyone. That's it for today. We'll see you in October when we return. Goodbye.